Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment hearing for the Scarborough District. Today is November 17, 2021. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, which is an online digital platform, and the hearing is streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with the physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using the WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on the YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by the computer, a phone, or a tablet app. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participant will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Before we begin, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to a property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on any application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and an email address because Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, the TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the TLAB or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal or the OLT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. In terms of the hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order that is listed on the agenda. When making your submissions where an application is uncontested, the agent or the applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters that are outlined in the application. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if, in the opinion of the committee, the application has been substantially revised so that the revised application is accurate and that all those who are entitled to receive the notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals that are either in support or in opposition will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or the agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will then be taken into the committee for a decision. I want to remind all presenters and speakers to limit and confine your remarks to the application And for all those speakers who have registered with us today to speak in opposition, please ensure that you do not repeat the comments. We certainly are here to hear your comments, but repeating the same comments again will not advance your cause. If you wish to select a spokesperson, if you're a large group, please do so and let me know if you do have a spokesperson. Please note that for the morning session, which is scheduled to start at 10 a.m., we are dealing with items 1 to 15. For the afternoon session, which is scheduled to start at 1:30, we will be dealing with items 16 to 28. So morning session, dealing with items 1 to 15 on the agenda. Before we hear the first item, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have the minutes from the last hearing?
Through the chair, the minutes from the last hearing unfortunately are not available for today's meeting. They will be made available in advance of the next hearing on December 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer. I ask if there are any declarations of interest of panel or staff for items in this time slot, items 1 to 15. Member M, please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, I declare a conflict with item 3 as IBI Group is my former employer. Thank you.
Thank you, Member M. So, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, it's item number 3 for Member M. All right, thank you. Any other declarations? I see none. Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, let's deal with the deferral requests first. So have you received any requests for deferral?
Through the chair, we've received 3 deferral requests. The first one is for item 2, which is 323 Danforth Road. It's a deferral request by the applicant, and they wish to request deferral to revise their application to address community planning concerns. The second item.
Before we do, sorry, Colin.
Go ahead.
Before we do, let's deal with this deferral, and then we'll come to the next one. Okay, thank you. So for this, this is item number 2 at 323 Danforth Road, and there's a request for deferral. Member M?
Through you, Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of deferral.
Not
at the
yet.
request of the
Not yet. I need to speak with the applicant first.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So can we have Andrea Christoph as the agent, please?
Through the chair, this person has not logged on today.
Okay, all right. So I've confirmed that the applicant's not available today. Member M, now you can go ahead with your motion.
Okay, thank you. I put forward motion of deferral to allow the applicant ability to go back and make revisions to accommodate community planning requests.
Okay, and may I have a seconder, please? Member Mohammed, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion.
All right, all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been deferred sine die. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, next request.
Through the chair, the next deferral request is for item 4, 32 Lamont Avenue. The deferral is due to insufficient public notice.
Okay.
And the recommendation is to defer to sine die.
Okay, thank you very much. Carrie, do we have the agent Yasu on item number 4? Yasu?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yasu Somalingam.
Okay, sir. So you have a request for deferral here?
It's not I requested. I think there's an error on the notice sent. So we would like to defer to the next meeting, please.
Okay, so you would like to defer to the next meeting because of insufficient notice and to give, to allow for proper notice to go out. Okay. Members of the committee, any questions on the deferral request? Member M? Nothing? Okay. If there are no questions, may I have a motion, please? Member M, go ahead.
You, Madam Chair, I think the request for the next committee hearing is an appropriate request from the applicant, as it was an error on our part or the city's part for the notification, and to not further delay him. So in my opinion, I feel it's appropriate to defer this application to the next committee hearing.
All right, may I have a seconder, please? Member Said, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for deferral for the next hearing.
All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been deferred and be brought back to the next hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, is there any other request for deferral?
Yes, there is a request for deferral for item 7, which is 110 Robinson Avenue. It's a request due to, the request is required due to insufficient public notice.
Thank you. And I see that the owner or the agent will not be participating at the hearing today. So members of the committee, deferral request for similar reason, insufficient notice. Any comment or question? I see none. All right. Can I have a motion, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since there was insufficient information on the public notice, so I move the motion for deferral of item number 7, Sinai.
Okay. May I have a seconder? Member M.
Through you, Madam Chair, I second that motion.
Just bear with me.
Through the chair, the 432 Lamont, I would suggest that the committee defer this sine die because the application.
At 110 Robinson Avenue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to go back to if the committee wishes to item 4.
Okay, so we're in the middle of a motion for item.
My apologies.
That's okay. Well, let's get through this and then we'll come back to your request. Okay, members of the committee, we had a motion to defer sine die 110 Robinson Avenue. Member M, you were seconding the motion. Please go ahead.
I second that motion, Madam Chair.
All right, all in favor of this motion? And we have lost member Macaulay. Motion's carried and the application is, oh, she's there, okay. All right, so it is unanimous. The motion has been carried sine die. Sorry, the motion has been approved and the application has carried sine die. Thank you. Now, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer.
My apologies for interrupting the motion. Through the chair, on item 4, 32 Lamont, it's I guess the motion was, I guess the defer, you may wish to consider deferring it sine die because the notice is not ready for the December 8th hearing. It'll be ready for the January hearing to issue notice. I think that the recommendation before was to defer to the next hearing, but it won't be ready for the next hearing.
I hear you. So the motion that got approved, that got carried, was to bring it back to the next hearing because that was Member M's motion. She thought that it would be appropriate and enough time to do that. But I do hear your comment as well. So members of the committee, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer is noting that it may not allow enough time for the notice to go out and the application be heard on December 7th. We do realize it's only 20 days left. So the request is to revisit the motion and the decision on the application. And we could do that, right?
I didn't know we were able to do that.
You may wish to reopen the item, and you need to vote if you wish to reopen the item.
So we reopen the item, we go through the process, and then we. Okay, all right. So, but we need the applicant to come back so that he's aware.
Yes.
Okay. So, Carrie, can we please
Just-
have Yasu?
Clarity.
Yeah, just give me a
Just-
moment. Hi, Yasu. Sorry, so you heard.
Hi, I was about to shut down the computer. It's good that I was hanging in. But anyway, okay, it's just an error. It's instead of they send it as a notice to the front yard. We're asking on the front yard, but it's not the front yard; it's a side yard. So it's only a small wording change, and we don't want to put the sign a die, but I prefer if we can hear it in December, if not at least in January. But sign die will give an opportunity for let it go forever.
Okay.
I honestly prefer the client wants to close his file by December. I don't know why we can't do that.
Okay, just give me a moment.
Sorry,
Member
just a-
M, go ahead.
Sorry, I just need some clarification. Normally there's a date in which the notices are actually mailed out. What is that date, right? Because like if we basically miss that date, then we don't have a choice. But if we do have several days to like fast track it to send it out,
So Colin, I think in his earlier remarks did mention that it may not allow, from an administrative perspective, allow staff to issue the notice in time for it to make the 10-day notice. So it'll be very tight. It may be difficult to achieve that.
Okay.
So the recommendation is, and I did hear, I did see Colin sort of nodding for January. So January seems to be, could work out. Okay?
Okay, I think that's an appropriate sort of in between. It's not sine die where it could hang on
Correct.
forever. It's still scheduled to a hearing. It just will not be the December hearing because there's just not enough time
Yeah.
to issue and prepare the notices as appropriate. So I'm comfortable reopening the item. Do we have to vote on doing that?
Yes, so we have to consider it as a new item, so we reopen, we go through the motions. But before we do that,
Okay.
Member Said has a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I agree with the comments of the staff, which is very valid comment because of shortage of time. And thank you very much, Yasu. You were also considering it like we are not putting it for a longer time. It's going to be for the January meeting. So I think this is a good arrangement. I support that.
Okay, all right. So if there are no further comments, then can I please have a motion keeping in mind the January hearing? Member M, go ahead.
So I put forward a new motion of deferral to the January meeting to allow time for appropriate notice.
Do you need to reopen?
Yeah, so we need to reopen. So I think we've already reopened it. We're discussing it. I wasn't sure of any formal wording for that. So just for record, we are reopening item number 4 for 32 Lamont Avenue because of some conflict with the timing of the issuance of the notice. We discussed it. We talked to the applicant, and the applicant understands the issue and is willing to deal with it or prepared for the January hearing. So on that note, Member M, now you can go ahead and put forward the motion.
Okay, I put forward a revised motion to defer the application to the January meeting.
Okay, can I have a seconder now? Mr. Said, go ahead.
I second the motion for approval, please.
Right, all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been deferred to the January hearing. January 2022.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any other requests for deferrals for item 1 to 15 today?
Through the chair, there are none.
Thank you. All right, so we have dealt with the requests for deferral. I will now move to vetting the agenda. So items 2, 4, and 7 have been deferred. So starting with item number 1. Item number 1 is 18 McCowan Road, and there is a list of speakers, registered speakers who wish to speak. So we will hold down item number 1 for 18 McCowan Road and come back to it for further discussion. Item number 3, for 2031 Kennedy Road. Any questions on, I don't see any registered speaker in terms of opposition, but there are agents and owners and transportation engineers representing the application. Any questions at this time? Can we have Vera Chan, the applicant, online with us?
Through the chair, Vera Chan has not logged on today.
Okay, can we have Nick Pileggi, who is listed as the agent?
Through the chair, the agent has not logged on today either.
Okay, can you check Edward Mark, the owner? Okay, Edward, are you there?
Yes. Good morning, committee.
Good morning, Edward. We're vetting the agenda. Just want to confirm with the committee members, do you have any questions for application for 2031 Kennedy Road? Members of the committee? Okay, I see none. There are no, this is item 3, sorry, my apologies. There's no condition or anything? there are no conditions. Okay. All right. So if there are no comments or questions, can I please have a motion? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forth a motion to approve this variance application. It meets all the requirements of the official plan and zoning bylaw. It is appropriate and it is good for a good development as the property is undergoing changes at the moment. So I recommend approval of this variance.
All right. May I have a
There are no
seconder,
conditions.
please? May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There has been a lot of deliberation between the applicant and the transportation, and I think everything has been worked out. So I second the motion for approval.
All right. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application for 2031 Kennedy Road has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we deal with item number 5. Item number 5 is 46 Flintwick Drive. And there is a registered speaker to speak in opposition. So we will hold down item number 5 and come back to it for further discussion. Item 5 is being held, 46 Flintwick Drive. Item number 6 is 100 Heel Avenue and minor variance application. Do we have Faisal Ahmed, the agent?
Through the chair, Faisal has not checked in, but the other agent has.
Okay, Kulvinder Kaur.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Kulvinder. So just bear with me for a second. Members of the committee, any questions or comment at this time on this application? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a comment. I see there are 2 variances out there, and I observe both of these variances are very minor. These are about the floor area and height of the side main wall. So these are quite minor and appropriate, so I'm willing to support that.
Okay, so because we're vetting the agenda, so if you want to go ahead with the motion, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the motion for approval of item number 6, and there are no conditions for this approval.
Thank you. Seconder, Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I second that motion.
All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried unanimously and the application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we now move to item number 8. Item number 8 is 31 Crackett's Avenue. 31 Crackett's Avenue. And do we have Anthony Bartolini with us?
Hello there, members of the committee. My name is Anthony Bartolini, and I'm representing my clients from 31 Crackett's. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Anthony. Members of the committee, any questions for Anthony? Any comment? I see none. All right, can I have a motion, please? Member M, go ahead.
For you, Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of approval of item number 8, and there are no conditions.
All right, may I have a seconder? Member Macaulay, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried unanimously and the application for 31 Crackett's Avenue has been approved.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
So, thank you. We now go to item number 9. And item number 9 is 6 Fallingbrook Road. There's no registered speaker in opposition, so I would like to call upon the agent, Julius.
Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Julius. Members of the committee, we have the agent, Julius, with us. Any questions or comment at this time? Member M, please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank the agent for preparing such a comprehensive application to illustrate the appropriateness of the variances being requested before him. It did help me with my review, and when I did go through the neighborhood, both on street view as well as all of the precedents that was provided. I do understand that this is, a very common occurrence for this kind of design of the built form along Fallingbrook and neighboring properties. So I'm very supportive of this application.
Okay, thank you, Member M. Julius, are you aware of the conditions of urban forestry, and do you have any concerns or question?
Yeah, I'm aware of the condition number 1, and we're satisfied with that condition, yes.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee, can I please have a motion? Member M, please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of approval of item number 9, subject to the urban forestry condition number 1.
Seconder, Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion, subject again to the urban forestry.
Okay, so all in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, so Member Said opposes the motion. However, the motion's carried and the application is approved subject to condition of urban forestry number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 10. Item number 10 has, this is 1161 Kingston Road, and there is a long list of speakers here, so we will hold down this item and come back to it. And for all of those items that have been held and where there's a long list of speakers, I just want to remind you all again, if you have submitted written submissions, please do not read off of those submissions. We have read, the committee members have received and read those submissions. If you want to summarize your comments or select a spokesperson, please do that. We certainly want to hear your comments, but please do not repeat the same comments and every speaker saying the same thing. I really appreciate your time and consideration. Item number 11. So, okay, sorry, so item 10 is being held for further discussion. Okay, item number 11. This is for 2372 and 2380 Midland Avenue. And there are no members in opposition, but we have the agent here, Ben Kwan.
Hello, good morning. This is Ben Kwan. I'm at 17 Bauer Crescent in Markham.
Okay, thank you, sir. Members of the committee, we have Ben Kwan, the agent on the application, and this is an application for Midland Avenue, address 2372, 2380. Any comments or questions for Ben at this time? Yes, Mr. Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a short question for clarity, Mr. Ben. I understand there are 3 buildings, but I'm asking a question about the building C, which is fronting at the Midland Avenue, and there are 3 components there. You are asking for a restaurant, pharmacy, and medical office. So could you just elaborate on that and give your comments? Are these variances or your request is only for the medical office, or you are including all these as a one?
The variances requested are only for 2. One is for the medical offices, and the second is for the pharmacy. The restaurant is already permitted by the zoning bylaws, and there is no variance required. So it's only the medical office and the pharmacy.
Are you satisfied, Mr. Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to focus on that the request is for the medical office and the pharmacy.
Yes,
Thank you.
which
That's
is
correct.
indeed listed on the notice as the proposed development for the medical use, for the medical office, and variance number 2 specifically says a retail store. So that's pretty clear on the notice. Okay, Member Macaulay, I saw your hand go up. Any question?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. This is a question to the applicant. That we have a letter of concern from the adjacent neighbor to the north about access and visibility. I was out there and saw that this is a property that is very much overgrown. Has the applicant had any discussion with the neighbor to the north about his concerns?
I believe that the person who wrote the letter of concern is to the west and not to the north. And I would like to advise that I did write to Mr. Smith. I also spoke with him on the phone, and his concerns have been looked after, and he's quite happy.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Thank you also for reaching out to the neighbors and addressing their concerns. That's all my comments, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Member
Thank you.
Macaulay. Thank you. All right, so can I have a motion now on this application? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ben, for the clarifications over there. Madam Chair, I move the motion for approval of item number 11, and there are no conditions to that.
Okay, may I have a seconder, please? Member Gary, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll second that motion to approve.
All right, thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been approved. So item 11, 2372, 2380 Midland Avenue has been approved. Okay, we now go to item 12. Item 12 is for 2448 to 2450 Kingston Road. There is a list of speakers, so I will be holding down this item for further discussion. Item 12 is being held for further discussion. Item number 13 is 18 Progress Avenue. We have to hold down this item, although I don't have a list of members in opposition, but there's a community planning staff report recommending refusal. So I would like to give an opportunity to the applicant to come and provide his thoughts on this application. So item number 13 is being held for further discussion. Item number 14 is 43 Syracuse Crescent. I don't see registered speakers in opposition. So can we have Roldan Labugin? Are you with us, Roldan?
Yes, I am, Madam.
Okay, thank you. So before we proceed, members of the committee, any questions for Roldan at this time? I see none. All right, and just confirming there are no conditions from any department. If there are no questions or comments for Roldan, can I please have a motion? And this is Member M. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward a motion of approval for item number 14, and there are no conditions.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A pretty straightforward case. There is only one variance, and that too the applicant is asking for just less than 2 meters in building length, which is quite minor variance. So I second the motion for approval, and there are no conditions.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved.
Thank you, Madam.
Okay. We now move to item number 15. Item number 15 is 128 Phyllis Avenue. And we have the agent here, Russ Gregory. Russ, you with us?
Oh, sorry, I just unmuted. Yes, Madam Chair, I am here as the agent for the owners at 128 Phyllis Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Russ, are you aware of the conditions of urban forestry? This is condition number 2, and do you have any questions or comment on it?
I am aware of that, and it's fully acceptable to us and understood, and we have no questions if the committee has no questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, we have Russ Gregory, the agent. Any questions for Russ at this time? I see none. All right. Can I have a motion, please? Member Said, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Rest, for acknowledging the urban forestry condition there. Madam Chair, this is again a pretty straightforward. All the variances there are minor, and the development is quite appropriate. So I move the motion for approval now. Item number 15, subject to the conditions of urban forestry.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member M, please go ahead. Oh, please go ahead.
I second that motion, Madam Chair.
All right, all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 128 Phyllis Avenue has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry. Thank you. So this
Thank you very
item-
much.
You're welcome. This item brings us to the end of the agenda for items that were listed or scheduled for the morning session that started at 10:30. All right, so we'll give a minute for all the members to get settled, and before we begin deliberating on the items that have been held. Member Macaulay?
I believe we lost Member Macaulay.
She's there. She briefly stepped. Okay, she's back.
Sorry, everyone. I'm getting remarks that I have low bandwidth and I keep on cutting out. So I've just shut down everything except this computer. So hopefully, no problems.
Okay.
I apologize.
No worries. It's totally fine. Okay, so are we all ready now? Perfect. All right. So let's get going. So we have completed the vetting of the agenda now, and we are going to start with all the items that were held. And just to recap before I do, so item number 1 was held. Item 5, item 10, item 12, item 13, and that's it? Perfect. Okay. So first held item, the very first item, number 1. This is an application for 18 McCowan Road, a minor variance application to permit a new 2-story detached dwelling with finished basement and integral garage, and the application includes 12 variances. Can we have the applicant, please? Jimison Padiat Suresh Babu.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Jimison. I'm
Jimison.
speaking on behalf of senior finance
Okay.
in regards to 18 McMillan Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you know if Faisal will be joining?
Not at the moment. I'll be speaking on behalf.
Okay, perfect. All right. I will not do a roll call, but I will just mention the names of all members of the opposition who have listed with us. So the first speaker, Janet May. Second speaker, Tanya Baksh. Third speaker, Tom Cassandra. And then we have Bob Everett. So please stay tuned, and we'll call your name as soon as we get to your number. All right, Jemison. How would you like to proceed? Do you wish to make a presentation to the committee, or would you rather dive into the questions?
Yes, absolutely. I would like to make a short presentation.
Okay, so Jemison, you have 5 minutes, so please go ahead.
So, good morning, every committee members. So, on regards to this public notice we received on November 5th, 2021, we have 12 variances, as you all know. And the first variance, we have the variance in FSI, and I would like to stress and bring into notice that we have the condition is very similar to other houses in the neighborhood, and I would like to name that 142 Harwood Avenue with FSI or area of 349.4 meters square, and 183 Phyllis Avenue with a gross floor area of 342.87 meters square, which is very similar to our proposal. So I would request the committee to consider this in mind and variance and approval. And I would like also, we have submitted a new updated or revised drawings with eliminated of 6 variances. So I would like to mention that the number 2, number 7, item number 8, item number 9, and 10 and 12 are eliminated, and 11 partially eliminated. And the rest we have now is 5 variances and 1 partially. So I would like the committee members to consider the 5 variances right now and approve and go ahead. And I would like to also mention about the transportations, and has with us objection letters mentioned about the driveway with very close to the stop sign. So we have been constant communication with the transport department, and we might need to relocate. And also we have considered this, and we moved further back the driveway with 7.9 7 meters from the stop sign right now, and earlier it was 4 meters, 4 meter. So we have been communicating with the department, and we will accept the conditions for the transportation department at any cost, and we are ready to accept it. And that be all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jameson. I think it would be appropriate if we bring up on the screen the list of revised variances. Yes, Member M, I will come to you. Give me a moment. If we can have the variances, the revised notice on the screen, just so that everybody who's tuned in and listening and watching can see what the revisions are to the application. So, Katrine, would you be able to pull it up, please, for us? Thank you. Okay, so the revised notice, which shows the changes or elimination or modifications to the variances. So variance number 1 remains the same, no changes being proposed. For variance number 2, the setback from the front lot line abutting McCowan, that particular variance is being eliminated. Variance number 3 stays as is, no change. Variance number 4, the building height is being revised to 9.5 meters. Variance number 5, again, similar, because of the other bylaw, the height of the building is being revised to 9.5. Item 6 remains the same, no change. Item number 7 is the front yard platform variance that is being eliminated. Variance number 8 for the building setback for the stairs that is being eliminated. Variance number 9 is being eliminated, that dealt with the canopy encroaching into the front or rear yard. That's eliminated. Variance number 10 is being eliminated, also had to do with the bay window box or other window projection encroachment. And number 11 is partially eliminated, and the way I read it is that the eaves of a roof may encroach into a required minimum building setback, a maximum of 0.9 meters if they're no closer to a lot line than 0.3 meters. The proposed north eaves encroach 0.96 meters. That has not been changed, but the portion has been eliminated, which where it said the proposed east eaves encroach 3.23 meters. Variance number 12, as you can see on the screen, has been completely eliminated. So that sort of gives a recap of all the variance, the modifications on the notice. Now, Member M, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like to thank the applicant for making these substantial changes, because to be honest with you, when I had read a lot of the presentation materials from the Cliff Crest community, I kind of agreed with some of their concerns in terms of, the appropriate placement of the building and the overall scale and size of it. So through the elimination of the 6 variances, it definitely scales back the development. It also allowed us the relocation of the driveway to be much further away from the intersection, which was what I understand transportation's main concern. What I also do like is that the building now is aligned with the adjacent building on McCowan Road. And so it is a very similar front yard setback to McCowan Road and maintains that consistency of the streetscape. So I do see that they have made a substantial effort to address the concerns while still being able to achieve their desires for a new home. I do feel that the variances that did remain, most of them were reduced in size, especially the ones associated with the height. So I am acknowledging and appreciative of this, as well as I like how they have identified in the notice exactly what has changed. It has taken a lot of the guesswork out for us because, receiving these changes a week or so beforehand, it's really nice to have it color coded this way and very, very visually apparent as to what has changed with the plan. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Member M, for your comment. Member Said, please go ahead. And then after Member Said, Member Macaulay, I'll come to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Jameson. As Member M was saying, you have made a good efforts to mitigate the issues which were raised from either from the staff or from the community. During your presentation, maybe I was not able to catch up on 2 points, so there are 2 questions very quickly. You said you may be willing to think about the relocation of the driveway. So is that shows that still it is not clear where the driveway is going to be located? And second, could you tell me exactly what is the setback of this? What will be the setback of this driveway, especially from the intersection of the McHaven Avenue and the Ensign Avenue? So I want to know the exact distance from that. And the second is, what exactly is the width of the driveway? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Said. So initially, the side of the driveway from the stop sign was 16 feet or 4.876 meter to be exact. Now it has been moved forward with a distance of 7.97 meters or 26 feet 2 inches from the stop sign, and the width of the driveway is 4.98 meters. And we have put effort to make a huge distance since the driveway was very close to the corner, and we have made effort to move forward back and provide a more distance. And we have been communicating with the transportation department, and they mentioned we might need to relocate, but we actually took a lot of effort to reduce that relocation. But however, if the transportation department mentioned about any relocation of any stop signs, we are willing to accept it at any cost. Thank you.
Staff, can the screen is all populated with apps?
For you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to also confirm that with the
Sorry,
driveway.
remember, I was trying to get the apps off because sometimes I can't see you guys when you're raising your hand. So go ahead now.
My understanding is that the transportation revised report had talked about how they'll need to submit a permit for a curb cut. So I believe that even though they have relocated the driveway, an additional, I think, what did she say, an additional 4 meters back to a total of almost 8 meters, so 7 and some change meters, that staff through a separate process will be reviewing in detail the driveway location and the associated curb cuts. And if they can't be satisfied that it's an appropriate location, that they will ask the applicant to relocate it. And from what I heard, that Jimson is agreeable to this situation. Is that what you said, Jimson?
Yes, madam. We accept any condition from the transportation department.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member M. Member Macaulay has been waiting for a while to speak. Go ahead, Member Macaulay. And then after Member Macaulay, it'll be Member Geary.
On this item, I appreciate the changes that have been made. I believe you sent in a drawing showing those changes. Is it possible, maybe the applicant needs to clarify whether they sent in that drawing? I can't access it at the moment. And is it possible if it was sent in that staff can show it?
Katrine, may I request you to please bring up, if possible, the site plan that was revised, that was sent? So it's in the supplementary agenda, Member Macaulay, and this is the first tab on the supplementary agenda, the revised plan. But it's up on the screen for your consideration. Okay. Are you good now, Member Macaulay? Yes? Okay, I can't hear you, but okay, you're good. Okay, that's what I can sense. Member Geary, please go ahead.
Thanks, Madam
I'm
Chair.
okay.
Okay.
Can you leave that?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now, and then you were good, so we're moving on now. I'm going to Member Geary now.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I'm wondering if we should tie a condition into the variances then to deal with the matter of the driveway width. Will it be enough just to say the matter will be dealt with in terms of approving a curb cut? Perhaps we should add it as a condition to the variances that the driveway be relocated to the satisfaction of the transportation staff.
That's a good point, but I would defer to staff for advice on whether, should committee consider including this condition, what is the enforceability of it?
Through the chair, Transportation Services is not recommending this condition. You cannot put a condition. It would not be advisable to impose a condition to the satisfaction of another division when they have not recommended it. What I can say to the committee is that there is a separate process, as Member M mentioned, in terms of the curb cut. There's a separate permit process that's administered through Transportation Services. So it's not necessary to.
Okay, thank you for that
All right,
advice.
thanks for that explanation.
Yeah. So Member Gary, you heard the explanation. I'll leave it in committee's hand to consider this or not. Okay. Any more questions? In the interest of time, okay. Member Said, there's 4 or 5 speakers who have registered to speak. Can you hold your questions, or is it important to ask the question right now?
It's okay, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I'm cognizant of the time here. So moving to the first speaker, in the order that I was given, I know Bob Everett is listed, but I didn't have any numbering on it. So I'm going to start with the first speaker, Janet May. Can we have Janet, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good morning, Janet. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Please go ahead, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Janet May, and I am a director of the Cliffcrest Scarborough Village Southwest Residents Association and co-chair of the Planning and Development Committee. CSV SWRA is an incorporated not-for-profit association working to preserve the unique nature of our neighborhoods. We do not support the application to replace the modest dwelling, located at 18 McCowan Road, with a significantly larger house not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. I live on Harewood Avenue, a few blocks away from this proposed development. This presentation was submitted to the Committee of Adjustment in time for the deadline of November 9th, and the slides are in response to the original application. On November the 15th, the applicant submitted revisions to the application, and we were not permitted to revise our presentation. So we are working with an old one. Slide 2, please. The image you see here remains materially accurate except for the positioning on the site. In reviewing the revised application, no significant changes have been made to the oversized and inappropriate mass and scale of the building. We observe that the building has been moved back to the proper setback from McCowan Road, and the peaked roof has been cropped. But the most egregious variances remain, including the 25% increase in floor area and the additional 1.23 meters in wall height. Minor variances must maintain the intent and purpose of the official plan, whose policies ensure that new development in a neighborhood respects the existing physical character of that neighborhood. The existing physical characteristic of this neighborhood is 1-story and 1.5-story houses or victory homes, not the examples cited by the applicant in her presentation. The excessively large houses are not supported by the majority of people who live in the more modest-sized homes, and approval of this application will increase the slippery slope towards overdevelopment of our lots. Slide 3, please. The proposed development that will replace the traditional bungalow is described as a 2-story house, but has the appearance of a 3-story. See the floor plan for the living area above the garage. According to Chapter 10 of Bylaw 569.2013, the building may have no more than 2 stories. This application, therefore, does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. As a local resident, I am still concerned about the proximity of the driveway to the intersection. It is still very close to that stop sign, and I believe that the house should be redesigned to move the garage to the west part of the house away from the east part and the stop sign. I think that pedestrian safety needs to be considered. This intersection is a gateway to this section of Cliffcrest. Approval of the requested variances will result in a new dwelling that is significantly larger and not in character with the existing homes. The requested variances are not minor in nature and will have a negative impact on the people who live in the existing homes around 18 McCowan Road. Because of this, the development is not desirable for the appropriate development of the land. The 4 tests set out in Section 45(1) of the Planning Act are not satisfied. Therefore, we request that the Committee of Adjustment refuse the requested variances. Could you put on slide 4, please? And I am finished. Tanya will not be speaking.
Okay, thank you very
So
much.
Tom,
Before you go,
okay.
just want to ask the committee members if they had any questions for Janet. Okay, I see none. All right, let's go. And I think you mentioned Tanya. She's not speaking?
No.
Oh, I see. Got it. Sorry, I didn't catch that. So Tanya's not speaking. And you've completed your remarks? Okay. Can we go to our next speaker, Tom Cassandra, please?
Hi, my name is Tom Cassandra. I'm a director with the CSVSWRA. I was pleased that member M acknowledged that the scale of the original proposal was a concern, because the truth is the scale of this massive home has not substantially changed, only moved. The diagram you see above was prepared to show the setback variance, but the reality is the red still materially represents the impact of the remaining request for variances. In fact, the red in this diagram is understated. The red area to the left originally represented the front setback, but if you doubled that volume of red, it would also represent the 25% increase in the size of the proposed massing of the building due to the floor space index variance request. The horizontal band under the eave represents the impact of the wall height variance, which also has not changed. It is clear that the remaining variances are still not minor. Slide 5, please. Although the front yard setback and other 4 variances all associated with the unimaginable positioning of this home have been removed, this slide shows what was originally applied for. I cannot speculate as if the applicant seriously wanted to move the house this close to the road, or if this variance was planned to be disregarded to create the appearance of compromise with the neighbors. But regardless, this is irrelevant. Compromise is not part of the 4 tests. If the applicant had proposed 40 variances and eliminated all but 1, we understand that committee's responsibility is to evaluate whether that 1 remaining variance meets the 4 tests. In the revised application, the remaining variances do not. Let's take a closer look. Can we skip to slide 7, the floor plan? With respect to the FSI, this home is 25% larger than permitted for its lot size. That red area is on every floor. This red area, that is the red area you see indicated. It is not possible to consider this variance minor. This one slide disqualifies the application for approval, but there is more. Slide 8, please. Because of the last minute change by the applicant, we're not allowed to present a revised diagram. However, one was submitted to the AIC. You'll have to imagine that a bit of the peak roof has been removed, but the 1.23 wall height variance and 1 meter side setback variance remain the same. There is a lot of red, and proportionally, you can see it's not minor. Can we go, the applicant may claim that the height is only a 0.5 meter increase, but in actuality, the impact of that variance on the mass of the house is much greater due to a clever loophole. Can we go to page 9 of the submitted plans, the roof plan? This roof is considered a flat roof because less than 50% of the roof is flat. but this only exists with the inclusion of the requested height variance. Slide 9, the roof. And what you'll see if you just scroll down, that's the roof plan. This is the wrong plan. This is the original plan, unfortunately. So let's just carry on and go to, this is the wrong set of plans. That's the original set of plans that doesn't show the flat roof. Oh, no, it's not the resubmitted plans. In any case, let's return to slide 8 of the community presentation. So without the 0.5 meter high variance, the roof would be categorized as a flat roof. Flat roofs are restricted to 7.2 meters in height because they are more massive by nature. The application attempts to get around this bylaw and add 2 additional meters in height to a flat roof design, because in fact, this is a mansard roof where they've added the peak to it to show a very high variance and then drop it down. But everything above the flat roof height dotted line shown here is the implication of the requested height variance, creating a building that is not in character with the neighborhood and not desirable for this particular corner lot. It does not meet the 4 tests, and we ask the committee to protect the neighborhood from this overdevelopment of this site and refuse the application. And it's very important to understand how this small variance actually, everything you see there in green, that's the build envelope of the bylaw. Everything outside that green area is the impact of the current variances. And again, you can see it's not like, it's a few inches or just a foot. There's an incredible amount of extra volume created by these variances. And and as Member M said, the original proposal was a concern in relation to its size. And that size has not changed. All they've
Okay,
done
Mr. Cassandra, the 5 minute is up. Could you please start closing?
Thank you. I basically, the 25% increase in floor area is not minor.
Okay.
And it creates a huge house that is out of place in this corner lot. And so we ask the committee to recognize it does not meet the 4 tests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cassandra, for your time. Members of the committee, any questions for Tom at this time? Member M, please go ahead.
Just wanted to clarify, just in case there is some confusion. I did have concern with the original application, as both Tom and Janet had alluded to. But the scale is more than just the floor space. And for me, I was pleased with the reduction in height. I was also, my main concern beyond the scale was the placement of the house, in terms of its effect with the streetscape, as well as the safety of the driveway placement. That being said, I don't have the same concerns as I did with the original application, so I don't want my words to get skewed. I do feel that they have made an effort to scale back the size of this dwelling with just the height reduction on its own and the elimination of an entire 6 variances. So I do appreciate that the floor space is larger than the permitted bylaw, but I mean, we've approved many floor space indexes in and around this amount in this area. So my concern wasn't so much with the FSI, it was with the height and the building placement, for which they have addressed for me. So just wanted to clarify my words. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member M. Any more questions? Okay, I see none. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Cassandra. We now move to our next speaker, Bob Everett.
Through the chair, Bob has not logged on today.
Okay, so Bob has not logged on today. So we heard Janet and we heard Tom Cassandra. We are now going to go to Jemison, the applicant. And Jemison, you have 5 minutes to address the concerns that have been raised by both the speakers.
Again, good morning to everyone. So in regards to Janet May, I would like to mention 2 comments that we have took a lot of time and invested this time to reduce 6 variances and 1 partially that been appreciated by a lot of members, and I am grateful to that. And also, and have to comment a few to Mr. Tom that I appreciate their analysis and taking time to read our application, and but still we would like to mention few comments. And again, regards to FSI, we have mentioned 2 houses in our neighborhood which are very similar to our physical characters. So I request again the committee members to mention or consider this as minor in nature and approve us on this. And regards to the height, and we have put effort to reduce, and we reduced as 1.21 meters than initially proposed. And I would like to clarify on one more thing is that Mr. Tom have mentioned it is a flat roof. It is not. We would like to mention it's in the revised drawings. The sloped is 65% and the flat is 35%, would make as a sloped roof. We have no intention of making it a flat roof. And the green versus red is not totally correct, as we have made effort to not to bring up a lot of variances and bring down a lot of variances. And in regards to Mr. Boat Everton, and which is he's not present here, but yet I would like to bring up his objections. And his main concern was the building is 2 meters ahead of a number 16 dwelling, and now since we moved back the dwelling, our proposal 18 Meckham Road is 0.7 meters behind the number 16 dwelling, which will give them a sufficient sunlight. This is one of his objections. And the other one is regarding the parking in the Anson Road. And since we have proposed the garage, which is 5.6 meter away from the proposed side lot line or abuts the street, and there won't be any more parking issues. So I think we have tried to work along with the Cliff Village, Cliff Crescent Scarborough Village, and we actually mentioned and we have forwarded all the changes. We have mentioned all the changes to them on November 15, and we would like to work close and in a good condition with them, and we appreciate their effort on this as well. And Mr. Tom has also mentioned about some variances in the lot coverage, and we have no variances in the lot coverage as of the notice of number 5th, and we'd like to bring that into attention. So, and I again stress and would request the committee members, the existing 5 variances and 1 partially, to consider as minor in nature and accept and our request and approve it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jameson. Members of the committee, any questions for Jameson? Any comments? Okay. All right, so if there are no questions for the applicant at this time, let's take the matter into committee. And I think Jameson did provide her closing remarks as well. So, Member Macaulay.
Thank you. I assume we've now taken this into committee. And I thank the applicant for the work that they have done in reducing the variances. Although I noticed that a number of the variances, number 7, 8, 9, and 10, really are dealing with projections on the building. And so they don't materially change the size of the building. The building still is an oversized size of 350 square meters, whereas only 279 is permitted. So in my view of this, we are still looking at a very large building. I also appreciate what they have done in terms of the building height, and they have changed it from a peak roof to a mansard roof. But I think the community's drawings are correct, that when you look at the overall imposing of a building, you're not looking at the peak so much as what is the frontage of that building adjacent to the street line, adjacent to other buildings. And so the mansard roof artificially shows the roof coming down, but you can see in that drawing that that's only an artificial, that the windows of the building make that building appear 3 stories. So I have some difficulty with this application. As I said, I appreciate the changes that have been made, but I still don't believe that this building is appropriate for this site in terms of overall size and in terms of its placement. I understand they've moved it around to meet the transportation services. I would prefer that they would come back with having had a further discussion with transportation services and look at some of the comments of the community and see what further changes they can make. Those are my comments at this time.
But I think, Member Macaulay, they've had those discussions with community planning. I don't know what else they are, what would we achieve from further discussions? They've had discussions with community plan. Yes, Member M, I've seen you. I'll come to you in a moment. I don't know what else could we achieve. They've already spoken with community planning. They've made all those changes. They understand the driveway, the location, whatnot. Like, I don't know what else would they be able to achieve with further discussions.
Okay, Madam Chair, when I first looked at this application and saw both the comments and the placement of the building and the concern with that driveway at vis-a-vis the stop sign, I was thinking, okay, what they really need to do is redesign this and flip the driveway and flip the garage to the other side of the building. By doing that, they're further away from the stop sign and interference with the access onto the safety issues of access at the corner. They're also further away from the property to the south and lining up that house with the houses that are on McCowan, the existing houses. As I was looking at a revision that made those changes. As I said, they have made a number of changes, but essentially what they're doing is they're taking off canopies and exterior chairs, stairs, and platforms.
I hear you,
I'm
Member
looking for
Macaulay.
changes a little bit further than that.
Sorry if I interrupt you, but I totally hear your comments. But my point is that transportation services have looked at it. They have put in their advisory comments, which Member Gary was also alluding to be included as a condition. But then we got advice. There's going to be a separate process. Transportation Department will look at the location of the driveway and will ensure that the safety and the residents and the pedestrians in the neighborhood are met and are taken care of. That's not a subject of the minor variance application before us. There's no variance related to location of the driveway here. So I'm a little confused in terms of how we can totally put all the weight on this driveway and not focus on the application itself. Whereas this driveway will be looked at and will be addressed through another process by the experts in the city.
Madam Chair, I'm not saying that we need to look at just the driveway. I'm saying we've got an overall floor area that is considerably larger than what is permitted. In that overall floor area, it's creating a building that has a number of challenges. If you reduce the floor area, a number of those challenges disappear.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that clarification. Yes, Member M, I was coming to you.
I totally respect Anne's position, as I agree with her in terms of how it was in terms of the initial application, but I do disagree. They have made an effort to align the houses along McCowan Road. There is no longer that projection. And that being said, yes, I acknowledge there is the floor space area increase, but there are no other setback requirements. And we've had this argument between the two of us before, that there are multiple ways of scaling a house. And setbacks are usually the main way of doing it. Front yard, side yard, rear yard. They meet all of those requirements that create a building envelope. But due to the number of stories and the size of that box, they're outside of their FSI, which is not normally a visual thing that can be seen unless it's vastly different from all of those setbacks. So while they're able to scope their building envelope to meet the bylaw requirements, the amount of floor space is increased. And yes, it is a big house, and I would have liked to see it a little bit reduced, but at the end of the day, when looking at all the other variances, I actually don't think it's egregious. I think it's large, but I think that we have done houses this size time and time again, and that FSI is not the only measurement of scale. And I think that they meet all of the other setback requirements. There's no reason why we can't consider FSI, because FSI is very, very hard to visually see as long as there is consistency from the streetscape. And with regards to the driveway, I think that we can't hold back this application as a result of the driveway,
Yeah.
because that is a whole separate process that has nothing to do with these variances.
That's
So
what, that's the
question
point I was trying to make, that the driveway is nothing to do with the application. I totally respect your comments, Member Macaulay, about the FSI, but that is, and I appreciate your comment on that, but to wholly put the onus on the driveway and how, like, I just couldn't see the tie-in to that. So my apologies if I'm not understanding, but that's my 2 cents. Remember, and we need to
So
close.
Yes, so what I'm basically trying to say here is that I feel that they have made an effort to reduce it. I mean, the mansard roof, it's still a reduction in height. It's not an artificial reduction. The height came down. Whether or not you want to acknowledge that the height did or did not come down because of the style of the roof, but it did come down. Yes, the size of the box and the main walls did not come down. But even if it wasn't a mansard roof or was a mansard roof, if they went with a flat roof completely, the main wall height is going to be the same. So, I think that they still made an effort. I feel that this is a good mediation between what the community was hoping for and what the owner of the land needs as well as his right. I think they've made a concerted effort, and I personally think that it is supportable given what we've supported in the past. And I like to stay as consistent with our previous
Okay.
work as possible.
Okay, all right. Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will make it very specific, and I agree with you. The driveway is not the only factor which is contributing toward the challenges. Yes. So let me point out in my opinion, I'm talking about variance number 1, which is the floor area. Member M said yes, FSI is not that visible, but still the variance number 1 is in terms of number and in terms of the size, yes, it is going to be an oversized development. My second opinion about variance number 6, which is about the height of the exteriors wall, there has been no change. And again, this shows that the building is exceeding the height, and of course, it will be having a bigger structure as compared to the adjacent properties. Also, the revisions were made on November 15th. Yes, the committee is understanding that. Very good revision. I appreciate Jamison have done a good job. But there were the stakeholders, and their understanding is also required there. And I also feel that the building structure may not be fitting into the character of that street. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. We've had a good discussion on this. I'm just wary of the time now. Unless there's a pressing comment, I would like to move into a motion, please. Okay. No comments? Can I have a motion, please?
I'd put forward a motion, Madam Chair, but I know it probably get rejected, so I'm
don't-
looking at both Ann and Mohammed, because then
That's
they'll get
okay.
it passed. and
That's okay.
get
Your
it
job
through.
is, if you wish, if you want to
Member
put,
M, if you have a motion, of course.
if
can
you
make-
want to put forward a motion, you've put forward a motion, and let the process play out, please. We don't need to assume beforehand. Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Member M, I'm taking a risk. It's not that whether it's approved or not. It's my opinion, and I go with that. So, Madam Chair, listening to the deliberations and the variants which are in before me, I personally feel with due stats in front of me that this development is not an appropriate, and the variances are still, there are big variances. So I move the motion for refusal of this application.
Okay, can I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay had her hand first. Member Macaulay, go ahead.
I will second that motion for
All in,
refusal.
okay, so we have a motion for refusal. We have a seconder. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? The motion is indeed carried with the 3 votes in favor of the motion, and the application has been refused. Thank you. Okay. So we have dealt with item number 1. We now move to the second item that was held for further discussion, and this is item number 5, 46 Flintwick Drive. Can I have the agent, please? Amrit Paul Singh Bansal.
Good afternoon, committee and chair. My name is Amrit Paul Bansal. I am the agent for this file.
Okay, thank you very much, Amrit
Am I
Paul.
able?
Yep. So I
I
just
wanted to know when a
want.
presentation, that's all.
Yeah, well, just give me a minute. It's a minor variance application, and we have to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling, and we have 2 variances before us. And we held it because there was a speaker. So, Amrit Paul, would you like to, sorry, I didn't catch you. Would you like to make a presentation or go directly to questions?
I would like to just make a quick presentation just to give some background and context to our development here.
Sure. So you have 5 minutes, and your time starts now. Please go ahead.
Sure. So we're coming back to you here as a deferred application from in a previous minor variance hearing. We, in good faith, deferred the application due to some concerns that were addressed by the neighbor, and we were contacted by the deputy mayor's office. Since then, our variances prior were related to building height. We were requesting something around 10.9 in building height. In good faith and speaking with the deputy mayor's office, we have significantly reduced the building height to around 9. The exact number is 9.92, and the permitted is 9 meters. So we're only talking about 3 feet here or so. The other variance we're here for is the exterior main wall height, where you're permitted 7 meters, we're at 7.2, so it's less than a foot of a difference. I would like to note that originally the owners and the builder did try to engage the neighbors to have a discussion, but I believe it's my understanding that they are still not convinced or supportive of our development here. I will note that we do have a building permit application previously for this project, and it was recently redesigned to eliminate a lot of the variances and to make better use of what the homeowner actually wanted. So I just wanted to reiterate that we've worked with the deputy mayor's office in reducing the building height. We've also been informed late last week that Urban Forestry had a comment of protecting a city-owned tree for the driveway. I know we're not here to speak on the driveway, but I'd just like to give a quick background on that. We are working with the Urban Forestry to eliminate the 2-car width curb cut and make it just a 1-car curb cut. So taking it from almost 6 meters down to about half of that. We're just waiting on confirmation from them. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we're working with Urban Forestry on addressing their concerns there. If there's any questions from the committee members or any of the speakers, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Amrit Paul. Members of the committee, any questions for Amrit Paul? Okay, let's go to the speaker. We have Eileen Steffen with us. Hello.
Eileen Steffen, 11 Hurley Crescent.
Hello, Eileen. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes, so please go ahead and let us know what your concerns are with the application.
Well, I'm very concerned because it's in my backyard and all my privacy is gone. The house is situated in Flintwick and I'm in Hurley Crescent and we got a pilot. And it takes away all my privacy and the sunlight and everything else.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, so there's an existing house on the property, and that house is being removed, and a new two-story detached dwelling is being proposed with a two-car garage. There are two variances before us today. One is related to the maximum floor area, and they're asking for an increase of to 279.3 square meters. So a little increase in this floor area, approximately, I would say 25 square meters more. And then the maximum height of a wall, the required is 7, and they're at 7.34. So could you please identify exactly which one are you concerned with, or if you have concerns with both these variances?
I'm concerned with all of them.
With
Because
both?
it takes away my, I don't have no privacy. They build that house, it's coming right in my backyard. It's not at the side of me. I seen you the pictures of my backyard and my stuff. It's not at the side of me, and it's right in my backyard, so.
Okay, so there is a house in your backyard right now, even today, right? They're demolishing that and putting in a slightly bigger house, and you have concern with that.
Yes, I'm concerned about the height of it and taking away all my sunlight and my privacy and everything else.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying that. Members of the committee, any questions for, sorry, go ahead. Please
Hang
go
on
ahead.
1 minute, let my niece speak a minute.
Hello, my name is Kathleen O'Keefe. I'd just like to advocate for my aunt because she's having a little difficulty navigating the WebEx.
Sure.
I believe you mentioned the variances I see before me are all height related. I don't see, and I see 3 on the list that was sent to me. I don't see one about increased floor space. I see they all relate to height
I'm sorry, am I,
in the letter that was sent to my aunt.
I may be looking at the wrong one then. We're at 46 Flintwick Drive, correct?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
they're all height. My apologies, I was looking at the incorrect notice.
She's right, yes.
Yeah, and what you're probably looking at is a prior one. As the committee may be aware, this is the 3rd time around that we have gone through this process. Each time they make, and as Mr.
Correct.
Bansal indicated, they modify, but the fundamental question remains the same. And the key issue here is the positioning of the house. And it's because, and I know that these types of variants are granted in other areas of Scarborough, but this is a truly irregular lot. If you can refer to the pictures that I sent, the current home, as you can see, exists very, very close to my aunt's property line.
Correct.
Which fundamentally not been an issue with the current structure, but when we talk about building a significantly larger home on that lot and one that is significantly higher to the point that it needs to exceed the bylaws, which are there for a reason in terms of height, it will loom over her property. And it's strictly to do with like where it is. As my aunt indicated, if it was beside her, it wouldn't matter. But her privacy now in that backyard is going to be shot. In the current pictures I sent you, there is currently one window in the current structure that overlooks that side. Presumably in a 2-story house, there's going to be a lot more windows, obviously, but the fact that there's going to be so tall will basically have them looking directly into her bedroom windows as well.
Okay.
So if you could refer to the pictures in front of you that I did submit, it all has to do with this irregular lot and the positioning of this house and the fact that my aunt really feels that this is fundamentally going to rob her of her sunlight and invade her privacy.
Okay, no, I
So,
get it.
that
I understand that. Sorry, my apologies, first of all. I probably had a different notice put up. So for record, I want to confirm, yes, Member Macaulay, I will come to you. I've seen your hand. Just for record, I want to say that there are 3 variances for this application. This is 46 Flintwick, and they're both, all the 3 are related to the height. The first one being from 9 to 9.86, and then the second one from older bylaw going from 9 to 9.92, and the third one is the height of the exterior portion, the main walls. Just to clarify to Eileen and her niece, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name. So want to clarify that the positioning of the house itself meets the bylaw. There are no reductions.
We
or-
understand that.
Okay, so there's no, so by law, as of right, the zoning bylaw permits the house to be located or the proposal meets the side yard setbacks and whatever the setbacks are required. So the zoning bylaw, as of right, permits that type of envelope or that type of location of the building on the property. The only three.
Yes, and my argument.
Yes.
Sorry, we totally appreciate that the current structure and the positioning of it is within the bylaws. Our objection is that if they're giving a variance, the positioning of the house needs to be taken into account, given that it is, kind of kissing up to the limits of where houses are, the closeness of the property line. And while it's currently within the structure, I mean, adding, and I know they make, an extra 3 feet above the bylaw sound insignificant, but when you look at the pictures, imagine a second story dwelling there now where a current bungalow exists, and then to boot, one that is also exceeding bylaw by 3 feet.
I hear you. I hear you. So the concerns is with the height. I totally get it. But I again just want to clarify that the proposed dwelling, not the existing, I can't speak to the existing, but the proposed dwelling as proposed would meet the bylaw regulations with regards to the setbacks to the property lines. This is what I was trying to establish here. So if you were to, or your aunt were to ever build on their property, they would be well within their rights to meet the bylaw or to build in accordance with the bylaw. Similarly, this resident also meets those setbacks. But I certainly hear your concerns about the height of the building and being 3 feet higher than what's permitted. I certainly hear that, but I just want to clarify for record that the side yard setbacks or the front yard, the rear yard meet the bylaw requirements. Okay, there's no variance being requested for that. So the positioning of the building is in accordance with the permissions in the zoning bylaw. Now, Member Macaulay had a question or a comment. You had raised your hand. Please go ahead. You're muted.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I concern. I took a look at this. Unfortunately, from our point of view, in sympathy with you, the house is located correctly in accordance with the zoning bylaw. It is a side yard that comes onto your backyard, as onto the other 3 lots that are your neighbors. And there's no requirement to change that. So it is unfortunate from your point of view, but really the issue that I can see as your concern is how close that house is to your rear lot line. But that house in its position meets well and if built would be perfectly legal. So there's nothing we can do about it. I just wanted to comment my sympathy to it, sympathy to you and our understanding of your concern.
I guess and I appreciate that the proposal, the current proposal is actually within the bylaws in terms of closeness to the property line. Their last attempt actually tried to bring it closer. But I guess going back to, if they're going to build this in its current position in the lot as it is, why does it need to exceed the bylaw heights? Because that fundamentally makes it worse given the situation. So we would respectfully request that anything that they build be within the current bylaws. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask because the bylaws are there in general for a rule, and variances should be granted if they don't interfere with the enjoyment or of the neighbors to enjoy their own property. We respectfully submit the height variance will make this larger home behind her more egregious. And the bylaw section itself is what I'm dealing with here in terms of why they need to be 3 feet what's allowed.
Okay, no, fair enough. Now it's totally clear. I'm glad we were able to help you understand. And I know you probably understood it as well, that the setbacks are in compliance. And we totally hear your comment regarding the height. And at this point, I would like to go back to the applicant so that he could provide a response to you as to why they cannot be within the required height and why do they need this variance. Okay? Thank you so much for your time.
Hey,
So we are
hi,
now
it's
going to
Amrit here.
Amritpal.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry about that. Yeah, so from the previous, the heights that were requested were around 10.5, almost at 11 meter here. So, we've reduced it down to just under 10. And the higher number of, one second, let me get the right number, 9.92 is from the old bylaw. I hate to make it sound like 3 feet is not much, but it is 3 feet. We do feel that it's very minor in nature. We've in good faith deferred our application previously on this matter, even though we had planning support. So in good faith, we went ahead and reduced it even more. In terms of why we need the variance, it's strictly for the aesthetics of the house. We're trying to get a bell curve and we'll need a certain slope for that. If we reduce it even more, the look of the house gets significantly, like, it's not at what the homeowner is envisioning as his dream house. I would just like to say that again, it is just under 3 feet of a height difference that we're asking for. I would also like to note that in the summer, the sun angle is about 72 degrees. So I don't think you'll be significantly affected by, I know it's unfortunate that the lot shape is not backing on to your backyards, but we followed the bylaw as best as we could here. And I just hope that helps.
Okay, thank you for your response. Any comment, members of the committee? Member Said, and then Member M.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question from the Amritpal. You told that you are working with the Urban Forestry, and there is a refusal recommendation from the Urban Forestry. Just wanted to have your comments at what stage you are at this point working with the Urban Forestry about this condition.
Yeah, so I mentioned that we are working with them. We received their email actually late last week, and right away we're engaging them and finding a solution. So, as I've mentioned, we've done this in the past where there was a city tree in close proximity to our 6-meter wide proposed driveway, and we had to reduce it to half of that for just a one car just to preserve the tree. And we're more than willing to do that. We've submitted that updated site plan to Urban Forestry over the weekend, or I think it was Friday, and we have yet to hear back from, I believe it's Mark at Urban Forestry, to see what he says. But I'm fairly confident that a solution is definitely going to be able to be made here.
Okay, thank you. Member M, please go ahead.
In the interest of time, can we maybe, can I say these comments in committee? Because I don't have anything for either the speaker or the applicant.
Perfect. Thank you, Member M. That would be appreciated. All right, so if there are no further comments or questions for Amritpal, we're going to take this matter into committee. Any closing remark before we go?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, so we now go to the committee. Committee members, any comment?
Yes, if I could just, I am sympathetic because of the configuration of the lotting pattern, but I mean, it is what it is, that those are the way that the lots were created and those were the way the houses were placed. And it is unfortunate that the rear yard butts up to the side yard. But that being said, like a 2-story house is going to have that visual impact to him and to her regardless. And if it wasn't for this actual numeric request for 3 feet, they would be able to build this outright. 2 stories, boom, done. And I mean, it's going to impact her regardless because it's a change, and it's a change from a bungalow to an as of right allowance for a 2-story house. And we have to come back to the fact that it is just, a couple of variances in relation to a true marginal increase in height. And that is really the purpose of why we have minor variances, is to allow applicants within their own right to come and make slight adjustments. And like I said, this is a marginal increase in the actual numerical value. And I think that there is no real delta in impact. The impact is there, period, because it's going from a bungalow to a 2-story. The added impact of 3 feet, I think, is nothing really, because it's still already an impact to this person. 3 feet is not going to make a material change to sunlight or anything else. It's already going to be an impact as a 2-story dwelling. And it's hard, and I feel for the neighbor, but unfortunately this is the process, and it is in this applicant's right to request a 3 feet increase to his building height. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Any other comment?
If there's no other comments, Madam Chair, I'm prepared for a motion.
Okay, all right. I
Okay,
don't
so
see any
through you-
comments, so go ahead, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, I put forward a motion of approval for item number 5, subject to the urban forestry conditions.
Right. Member Macaulay.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
All in favor of this motion? Okay, wait.
Through the chair, the urban forestry is recommending refusal of this application. Does the committee
Didn't they
wish
also
to?
put in? Didn't they also put in subject to approval? Okay, so then I amend my motion, and I put forward a motion of approval, no conditions.
Thank you. Seconder? Yeah, Member Macaulay, go ahead, please.
I will second that.
Okay, so all in favor of this motion?
Or the motion, okay. Motion to approve without condition, is that where we're at?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, so Member M amended her motion. The motion was to approve the application and there's no condition. Member Macaulay seconded the motion. All in favor of this motion? Motion is carried and the application is approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So we now go to our next item. This is item number 10, which was held. Item 10 is 1161 Kingston Road. This is the application for a 8-story mixed-use building containing 57 dwelling units and commercial space at grade, right? And there are 16 variances before us. Can we have Ryan Doherty with us? Okay, all right. Before I proceed, Ryan is the agent, and I'm just going to name the registered speakers. I'm not going to do a roll call, but just want to give everyone a chance to get ready. We have Howard and Sharon Wilson, Jorn Hartley, Bernadette Crowley, Brian Graff, Michael Marmorio, Jeff Wiener, Mark Kent, and Patrick McGarry. Everyone, please get ready. We'll come to you in a moment. Over to Ryan now. Ryan, are you with us?
Yep. Good morning, Chair and Committee.
Good morning, Ryan. So would you like to make a presentation or would you go right into the questions and discussion?
Yes, we'd like to make a presentation. We put together a presentation deck, so if we can have that brought up as well. And I'm just going to briefly touch upon that. And then I'm also joined by the architect, Roland Rom Kolthoff, who will also be speaking to the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And Katrine is bringing up your presentation. For record, we did receive a copy of this presentation in our agenda. So Ryan, you have 5 minutes and your time starts now.
Great. So again, my name is Ryan Doherty. I'm a planner at Bouse Fields. I am the agent to the application. So the proposal consists of an 8-story building containing retail and residential uses. The building will provide a 4-story street wall with new tree planting along Kingston Road and Courcelette. At 8 stories, the proposal is in keeping with the existing mid-rise context in the Birchcliff area, where buildings of up to 10 stories have recently been developed. The proposal is also in keeping with the site's avenues and mixed-use areas designation. Those are areas in which the official plan notes that much of the city's growth is to occur. So through our ongoing site plan application, we have had several discussions with city planning over the better part of the past 2 years. The results of these discussions were many progressive iterations to the design of the building to mitigate overall built form impacts, particularly on the Kingston Road right-of-way. As a result, we now have a mostly positive report from planning and a positive report from transportation services. I also wanted to note that we had been involved with the local community through a community consultation meeting that was held this past June with the local councillor as well. I just wanted to touch on Urban Forestry's recommendations as well. So the issue here is primarily regarding on-site soil volumes. Soil volume is a common issue that arises on most urban infill projects, given that the requirements are very challenging to meet on small sites. We've done the best that is feasible in this location, given that our site has some unique dimensions and grading, and considering that the planting along Courcelette does not count towards our on-site soil volume. We also have confirmation from our landscape architect that the proposed tree planting along Kingston and Courcelette will have sufficient overhead clearance and soil volume to grow. And so finally, before I hand it off to Roland, I'd also like to add that the proposal will represent a unique and eco-conscious mid-rise addition to Kingston Road and is intended to achieve a LEED Platinum certification and TGS Tier 2. Next slide, please. So we have a total of 16 variances, and Roland will take you through some of the notable ones. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we have Roland, please? Oh, Roland is there. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I was panicking and trying to get unmuted here. Thank you. I'll try and race through these quickly. We can go to the next slide. I think Ryan has summarized these mainly. A lot of the variances go to, next slide, please. A lot of the variances go to the configuration of the lot and the geometry and the fact that it slopes one full level as you proceed to the south. So this is just speaking to the context in which the building is happening. The densities in the area are in keeping with what we're asking for here. Next slide. Similarly, the height, there's a 10-story building just down the street. Or sorry, the density is in keeping with what's in the area, and the heights are in keeping with what's in the area. We can look at the next slide. It's just numbers that fall out of it. With regard to the front yard setback, we are providing a 4.8 meters from the curb to the building face as called for in the typical street guidelines in the city. We have the 2.1 meter pedestrian clearway. We have a letter from our landscape architect that we weren't able to submit to the committee in time, but confirming that the canopy of the tree will be unaffected by this building and by the 2 meter setback of the floors above. Next slide. We're proposing not to have a setback on the Courcelette side because we are a mid-rise building fronting one of the major avenues within the city, so it's appropriate to have a 0 lot line condition. It is worth noting that Courcelette is quite a broad boulevard and does provide adequate landscaping along the street and adequate separation and buffer to the building to the curb. Next slide. The angular plane from the rear taken from the bylaw as a result of the slope of the site to the south by approximately 3 meters does substantively cut into the road. It is a very small site and we are proposing a relatively modest building. It does generally comply with the mid-rise guidelines, which are citywide across the city of Toronto. You can see that we're quite close to the angular plane at the rear, just some small projections. And these have been all gone through with city staff to try and arrive at a solution that they're comfortable with. And we understand that in terms of the rear of the building that they are in congruence with that. Next slide. Slide, please.
So, Roland, just so you know, the 5 minutes is up, so you may want to start closing.
Okay, well, I'm trying to.
Okay.
So This slide
Oh,
speaks
okay.
to the
Sorry,
landscape area,
sorry,
to this.
Roland, sorry. You know what
Yes,
staff just
yes.
mentioned, because you were registered as a separate speaker, so Ryan had 5 minutes. He probably used 2 minutes, so you have your 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
2 more
I'll try
minutes.
I'll
2
try
more
not to go
minutes,
on too
okay?
long. Okay, thank you.
We're trying to be fair to
If
everyone.
we could go back, okay, if we could go back to the slide before this for a moment. One more. Yes, so this speaks, no, back again to slide number 8, please. Or 8, please. Long way. That one. Oh, too far. The slide immediately before this. Okay, so we set back the building above the 14 meters as required. Okay, this is the one that talks about the front yard. Interestingly, the zoning bylaw counts Courcelette as the front of the site, which obviously is incorrect. Kingston Road is a major street front, and all the setbacks should be measured from that. So a number of these variances fall out of that simple circumstance. Next slide. So the bylaw requires a setback above 14 meters to provide the appropriate character and height to the building. We are providing that setback on average because of the geometry of the site. You can see on the right-hand image that the building terrace has a sort of serrated edge and plan. On average, we do meet the 1.5 meter setback, but we do have projections into it. Next slide. This speaks to the landscaping at the south of the property. It is slightly narrower than the 1.5 or 2 meters requested by the bylaw. However, we have spoken with a landscape architect, and we will have appropriate buffering for the transformer vault in that location, pad mounted transformer, and for the building in that location. Next slide. We are providing the appropriate amount of outdoor amenity space and green space in the building. We have an area at grade and on the upper floor of the building for use and enjoyment of the residents of the building. Next slide. We are providing the appropriate amount of soft landscape cover we feel on the design. We have soft landscaping along Kingston Road, and mature street trees can grow in that. And I also mentioned the area at the southeast corner by the transformer before. Next slide. Because of the slope of the site, we are asking for an amenity space in the so-called basement of the building. Because of the slope of the site, it's actually at grade at that point. So again, this is a problem with the bylaw definition and how it treats the geography of the site. Next slide.
Okay, 5 minutes is up.
Okay, just on transportation, we have a letter of support from transportation for all of the variances requested with regard to drive aisle, parking stall size, and the arrangement of the bicycle parking. And I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your time, Roland and Ryan. So members of the committee, okay, member M goes first. You go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The presentation was helpful. However, what was for me the most helpful was community planning staff report, which was quite thorough in its description of the actual project and the status of the site plan application and what their requirements and concerns are. And I note from that they're generally satisfied with variances 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. Where they do have concern is with variance number 3. As well as they would like a modification to variance number 8. I just would like to ask the applicant's agent what is being done to consider those concerns from city staff. Variance number 3 in particular, which is the setback from Kingston Road, and then variance number 8 that is requesting at the pinch point down at the southeast corner be bumped up to 1.5 meters of landscape buffer.
Hi, so it's Ryan here. Just to first respond to your question about the setback on Kingston Road. So we are requesting that there is a minimum setback of 2 meters, but as Roland mentioned, that is for the upper levels of the building. As I understand city planning's concern, it's about providing the adequate curb to building face setback and the pedestrian clear way. So at grade, we are providing an increased setback of 2.5 meters, which maintains that 2.1 meter clearway and the total separation distance from curb to building face. So I think there's been a bit of confusion in terms of that concern.
Do you
As
a
Yep.
streetscape section where you can show me exactly what you're talking about? Because what they're
Sure.
requesting is a minimum of a 2.1 meter pedestrian clearway. You're saying you're providing 2.5. So I just wanted to see, because you're saying that at grade it's okay, but overhead, so you're saying that there's an overhang or like of the
Perhaps we
building?
can bring up the plan. If we can bring up the ground floor plan, that might be the easiest way to see it, or even the section that was in the presentation.
I think this section might be easiest for me.
Okay, so if we can bring up the presentation that was just up, there was, I can't remember what page it was on, but there was a section on page 5.
Yeah. There's a section on page 5. Katrine, would you please bring it up, the presentation? Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. We'll wait. No problem.
And are you agreeable to sort of their request for variance number 8 that basically ties it to the site plan that shows down at the southwest corner that you will extend it to a 1.5 meter landscape buffer?
I'll have to defer to Roland on that. He has more background on the transformer. I from what I understand, we are limited due to the truck turning radius required by transportation services, and the fact that the transformer is pad mounted, so we're pretty tight in the rear yard. But I'll defer to Roland on that question.
So looking
Ryan,
at
sorry. Shall I answer that, or do you want to?
no, just wait, because now that we've got this.
Okay.
So I'm seeing what you're saying. So can you zoom in a little bit, Katrine, please? The way it was fine. So I'm seeing that like the first floor, which is the retail, you have that 2.5, and I think staff wanted at least 2.1. And that it's on the floors above that there is that slight projection of 0.5 meters. So that satisfies me in terms of the intent. I guess the intent was that they wanted to protect an adequate public realm and that they needed 2.1 meters separated in order to do that. I mean, there's no public, like people are not going to be walking up on the second and third floor on the sidewalk. So until we have hoverboards, I don't see that as being a concern. So I'm satisfied with this. We can move on to variance number 8 now and
If you go to slide 10, it shows the condition at the southeast end of the site. This comment came to us a bit late in the process, so we're reluctant to make this any larger because you can see from, well, if we can go to slide 10, sorry.
So I just got some additional clarification. The reason why it has to be taller and higher is because the clearance for trees, not just the first story, it's the trees, right? That the clearance is being requested for. This is staff just giving some background on the application.
Yeah, as I said, we have a letter from our landscape architect that we're happy to submit in the next few days. We just got it yesterday to clarify that they're comfortable that the canopy of these trees will be unaffected by the setback proposed here. It's worth noting that our neighbor to the east has a 0 lot line setback, so we're already significantly free than what's around us. Go to slide 10. You can see the southeast corner and the landscape proposed there. We're happy to work through with staff the quality of the landscape buffer provided there. Because it's a pad mount transformer, there is the at-grade condition below it, so we will be able to provide fully mature landscape in and around this transformer at the southeast end of the site. The fact that it's 1.2 versus 1.5 meters, we don't feel should be treated as material, and we're just worried that if we shift the slide 10, please.
Yeah,
If
I'm not.
we shift the transformer further westward, we're going to run into trouble with the turning path and maneuverability of the waste vehicle from City of Toronto.
So that's
Sorry,
the,
I'm not seeing the landscape buffer
it's
on this
the,
on this image.
It's slide 10, please.
it's, yes, so two more down, another one. That's it.
Thank
That's
you.
the one.
There it is. So you can see the swept path of the truck is just at the left-hand side of that image.
Yep.
So wait, the part that they want enlarged is the south-facing part, right?
Well, again, the transformer has a certain buffer area around it that you cannot change, and if the new rules of City of Toronto, Toronto Hydro, require that you cannot build an underground garage below the pad mount transformer. So if we push this transformer further north, further east, we will lose parking stalls or a drive aisle in the building. It's a very tight site. We're trying to fit all this technology into it in the appropriate manner, but we really can't push the transformer further north, particularly because we'll lose the drive aisle, or west. We'll push the truck.
My question is this is not demarcated, right? So I can't exactly see where it's at 0.5 and where it's not. And so from the comments that I see from city planning, they're actually saying like tie it to the plans because the bottom southeast corner does maintain that 0.5 meter strip. Is it not 0.5 meters?
So the architectural plans, the ground floor plan has the dimensions on it. We just highlighted this and cleaned it up for the sake of the presentation. But where the landscape buffer is going north-south, the dimension is 1.17 meters. And where it is going east-west, it is 0.87 meters. And city planning are asking that both of those dimensions be increased to 1.5 meters.
Okay, and if that happens, then you're going to be further out parking spaces, which could be then in conflict with transportation staff's report, because right now they're okay with the variances 13, 14, 15, and 16 because they understand the limitations of the site. But then you would be looking at further reductions, like how many further parking stalls would you lose as a result of relocating this transformer?
Well, if we move it westward, we lose one space. If we move it northward, then we have to go back to the variance with regard to the drive aisle because we'll have a deficient drive aisle getting cars down into the garage.
I'd also like to note that it will impact the truck turning radius at grade as well.
Can I ask a
Well,
process? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, this is a little bit difficult because then what I'm sort of hearing here is that there's still issues that kind of need to be worked out through the site plan process, and that, you know, maybe we're not actually ready to hear these variances if there are still concerns from community planning. And then if you were to try to make changes to satisfy community planning, then it's going to possibly create problems from transportation, both on the parking side of things as well as the truck turning movements.
And I echo Member M's comments. I was about to say the same, that actually I was just asking where in the process are you with the site plan circulation right now?
So with this minor variance submission, I believe it went in September. We also submitted our second site plan application. I just want to reiterate for the committee that we have been discussing this application for the better part of 2 years with city planning to put together a built form that is generally everybody is okay with. So there's already been a lot of progressive changes to this building.
I understand. Has comments been received back on your second submission?
Not yet.
So this is where I feel it's a little bit preemptive, right? Because until you get comments back on your second submission site plan application, we may be back towards additional variances because the design itself has not yet been baked. And like we don't want to necessarily deny you, so it may be best that you request perhaps a deferral until you at least receive second round comments back from both engineering and planning staff Because if there could be another significant round of changes as a result of the circulation.
This is what I was also leaning towards, Member M, in terms of this may be a little, again, I acknowledge that this has been going through 2 years' worth of discussion, but when it gets to little nuances and technical details, it probably needs a little bit more discussion with community planning, especially what we see in terms of the report from them. They're recommending refusal of one, and they're asking for modification. So we just don't want to be prematurely making this decision or deny you something whereby you can actually make it work with community planning. So maybe deferral is an option that you may want to consider, and just to give you a little bit more time in dealing with those nuances and minor details.
We only got these comments from the city in the last week.
Yeah.
We were under
Yes.
the impression and understanding through the 2-year process that we've gone through to date,
Yeah.
that we had agreement on all these issues. So these were a real surprise to us, which is why
Yeah.
we're here. And now we're saying we should move forward with this. We've been very patient. We've tried to work everything out with the city, and we're waiting to hear from the community as well on this application. But we feel that this is a bit unfair to at the last moment be told that we need to have an extra 1-foot setback somewhere in the building, whereas staff have had the file on their desk for 6 months. So we need to move forward on this file. This is a very good building. You've got a client that's going to do a lead
application. And I believe, given that there are some comments from the community planning as well as some questions that members of the committee have, we should proceed with the application, listen to the comments from the community so that at least you're that far ahead in your process. And then we can discuss amongst ourselves as to whether we think this should have a deferral. But before we go into that, I had another question, again, dealing with the building, and I think it's your diagram number 8 showed it. And that is that you have a 0 setback on the rear yard. And this 0 setback appears to be exactly touching the building to the rear. So my question to you is, have you had some communication with your adjacent building to the rear regarding your 0 setback to the property line and his existing 0 setback to the property line?
Okay, so Member Macaulay,
sorry,
sorry, Ryan, sorry, my apologies to interject. I know this was a very important question. We have to switch streams. This is a technical thing. This is the YouTube stream that needs to be changed. I know this response may take longer than 5 minutes, so that's why let's pause for a moment, park your ideas for a moment. We will switch the streams and connect with you shortly.
Through the chair, for viewers viewing on YouTube, please switch over to PM stream number 1. PM stream just PM stream, okay? And we will reconvene in 5 minutes.
So all the WebEx people can stay. It's just the YouTube folks or audience for the YouTube. Please switch over to the PM stream.